Welcome to the UFO Woman Show. I'm your host, Melisa Kennedy. And today's guest is a really sweet girl. I really like her a lot. She's a friend. She's one of our BMK Publishing authors, and she's a paranormal investigator. Her name is Natalie Jones, and she's coming to us from Texas. Hey, Natalie, how are you?
Hey, how are you today?
I'm awesome. I'm so happy to get you on the show. We've been talking about it now for weeks, and finally, the day has come.
I'm here. It's President's Day. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, actually, the show's going to air on Friday, which won't be President's Day, but that's okay. People probably know that we film this ahead of time, so that's cool. But yeah, it is President's Day. We've got a really good lineup tonight on your book and what you've been doing, like with your investigating and things like that. So it's going to be really, really cool. So for our viewers that don't know who you are or maybe want to learn some more about you, Natalie, give us a little bit of your history. You know, you're in Texas. Tell us what you do there. Tell us your background.
Yeah, so currently I am in Dallas, Texas, and I've spent about the last 20 years here. I was born in southern Utah, which is out there around, Arizona, New Mexico, where some of the cool stuff that we know about happens.
Yes, exactly.
So that's where I was born. So I found my way out here. I do love it out here, but I had an experience as a child, which I believe that most people will have an experience as a child that, though, at the moment, they do not have a conscious understanding, but it turns out to be that it's a direct indication of, who they are and their soul mission and their life path. So I am now out here in Texas, and which has led me for a while now, basis of a spiritual awakening and understanding of the paranormal. I'm a paranormal investigator. I've termed the term paranormal navigator because I'm a researcher as well, a paranormal researcher. So I thought, okay, I've got these gifts, abilities, a paranormal investigator and a paranormal researcher. So let's just scoop it all in one and call it a paranormal navigator. It makes sense. We've got to navigate our way through this life, right?
Don't we? Oh my gosh, that's so true. And as our life continues to intertwine with one another, I'm also a paranormal investigator, and I love your term, navigator. That's awesome because it's a journey. Yeah, it's a journey. It's a path, and you have to research your cases. You have to get your education on what it is you're doing, because that makes the best investigation, right? When you're educated on the history and what's going on in that area that you're looking at.
Right. So people will ask me, well, how in the world did you get involved in this?
Yeah.
I'll say, well, it chose me. I didn't choose it, right? As with all of us. And I find that the common thread that we all really have is that this is about elevating all of us and really helping others where, we're out there, and that's what the common thread in all of this is, and really truly trying to continue to understand so much, because there's so much that we do not know, and there's so much that we do know, and there's so much that we're coming to understand, and just how interconnected everything is.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a passion for sure.
Oh, it is. It really is.
An adventure.
It really is. I mean, I had no idea that my life was going to take me in the direction of UFOs and paranormal. I used to be a school teacher, and, I've done other businesses and things like that. I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur. And to be honest, if you had told me 10 years ago I was going to be a ufologist and have a TV show and all this other stuff, I would have been like, yeah, okay, on what planet?
Right, exactly.
So I'm right there with you, Natalie, and we're all connected. I mean, everybody that keeps coming into my life, whether it's you or somebody else, I mean, it's not coincidence, is it? It's synchronicity.
No. There are no coincidences. Everything is absolute when it happens.
Yes.
Period. End of story.
Yes.
So,
yes. End of chapter.
Up until the point something happens, it could, be bound to change. But once it happens, it's absolute. And so absolutely. And these wild synchronicities, and it's what keeps everything so adventurous, because, you and I, we're awake. And so we understand what's really going on and our path. And now that it's crossed and the doors that are opening, it's absolutely incredible. But there's a really big picture here, and we're still putting together the pieces, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, aren't we? We have this puzzle, and we just keep putting little pieces together. And let's bring our audience up to speed as to how you and I met, because they're probably wondering, well, Melisa's in Florida and Natalie's in Texas, so how in the world did the two of them meet? Do you want to tell the story of how we met?
Right. But so I was standing out on the highway hitchhiking. And
No, that makes for a good
Melisa
story.
drove by. Yeah. So I have, for the last 9 months, I had been writing a book, and it is called Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light. And I completed the final draft a couple of months ago, and I don't even really 100% recall how you and I were connected. I believe I may have seen I saw something online.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
I immediately just knew. I had this feeling, this is it. This is going to be my publisher. And so you and I connected right away, and it's just gone from there.
We had this instant connection, didn't we? And I know, we talked about BMK Publishing, and I told you about some of the authors that we have through BMK Publishing. And I don't know, we just kind of hit it off, and we realized that we had this connection, and we had a lot of commonalities in our research and our belief systems. And it's like, oh my gosh, she's like my long lost best friend, So it just
you're my long lost best friend. The universe has brought us together, and here we are.
Yes. And we both do a lot of work with crystals. We both are Reiki certified. We both meditate. I mean, there's just like so many things that you and I do that we connect on. And then the whole book publishing, that's like icing on the cake, let's be honest. And
sure.
So if you want to find out some more about how she came to be in the BMK Publishing Company, you can go on our website, which is bmkpublishingusa.com, and you can read her bio. You can also purchase her book. She also has a website, which is official. Can you help me out there, Natalie? What is it?
Yes, NatalieAnnJones.com, and Ann is with an E, so NatalieAnnE, NatalieAnnJones.com.
Perfect. So there's two websites that people can go and find information about you and your projects and everything that you've got going on, which is really cool. Okay, let's get back to the book for a second. So you and I, we kind of met online, e-meet, I guess. And
isn't that how everyone meets these days?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes it's some of the best ways to meet. But, we met because of the book. And, I've had the privilege of reading it because I am your publisher. But for people that haven't read it, can you give us the reason why you wrote it? What was your inspiration for writing your book?
So this book, and before I delve in, excuse me, the website, if you'd like to go directly to the book as well, is awakenthehigherself.com.
Okay.
So in the book, I do go into universal laws, and one of the universal laws is the law of witnesses. And, throughout the course of time, linear time, and our daily life, we will encounter what I like to call the law of witnesses, where we will receive acknowledgement and witnesses of 2 or 3, whether it be from a sign in the universe, something that the universe will know that we will pick up on, whether it comes through another person, even though that person does not have conscious awareness that they're giving us a witness. So I've known for a while now, in the course of my investigation and researching and helping others in the capacity that I do as a dark energy healing facilitator, that I would be writing a book, because I'm only one person and I can only help one person at a time. Mm-hmm. And there are millions of people that need help.
Yes, I agree with that. So can you tell us a little bit about what dark energy healing is for those that don't know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so as a dark energy healing facilitator, I wrote this book in self-therapy format, and it's the basis of a spiritual awakening.
Okay.
Basically going through as a dark energy healing facilitator with these clients, and the way that I would come into meeting these clients is in the capacity of a paranormal investigator. I would get calls about a case, a residential case. Someone's experiencing poltergeist activity. Objects are being thrown. They're being scratched.
Oh, yeah.
They're seeing shadow people. And, this is not some secret to all of us anymore. I mean, we've got the Travel Channel. You see Ghost Adventures, all of these different shows that show these cases. Kindred Spirits, Help My House is Haunted is a great one.
Ghost Hunters.
Yes, Ghost Hunters. Yeah.
Grant Wilson, hi.
Hi, Grant. Hey, Grant, buy my book.
Yes, exactly.
So, and I will, that's how I initially come into contact. Well, as I go in and I start these cases, I routinely find that a lot of these clients would have something in common, that they've had a very traumatic experience in life, which caused spirit fragmentation.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, and through the spirit fragmentation, there's these spiritual streamers that do come off the fragment. Though we cannot see them, they are very real.
And they even attach sometimes, don't they?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's how the attachment forms, is then the dark energy, whatever you want to call the dark energy, a dark influence, a devil, a demon. Some people, have their own belief system. So that's why I just say dark energy.
Right. It could be interdimensional. Right? It could be interdimensional. It even could be extraterrestrial. It could be a lot of things. And so I want to try to give a little bit of background to our audience that maybe doesn't know exactly what. I mean, you and I are in the field, so we understand, but I kind of want to, level it down just a little bit. So in case this is new to somebody, we don't lose them. So when we're talking about these dark energies, they're negative. They are not with good intentions.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
So, and oftentimes they will attach to a human. Would you describe it as kind of like feeding off of that human's energy? Would that be a good explanation, you think?
Exactly. And another way that I like to explain it is, let's take a line. Anything below that line is going to be lower vibrational energy. And anything above that line is going to be higher vibrational energy.
Right.
Okay, so when we're talking about vibrational energy, everything is made of energy. We know that. So any lower vibrational energy is therefore dark in nature, or what you would say depression, sadness, anything that is fear-based is lower vibrational energy. So it's some sort of lower vibrational energy attachment, which is therefore dark in nature.
And it will suck the energy from a higher level frequency entity, whether it's a person or maybe another worldly being or something like that. So
exactly.
So okay, so let's continue with that, because I like where you're going with this, Natalie, because I'm all about raising our vibrational frequency, and it's such a good thing for us all to do. And some of the modalities that we can do that, which is something that you and I do on a daily basis, and that's working with crystals, that's Reiki, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong. I mean, I know I do it every day, and I know you do it every day. And the reason why we do that is because, let's finish that sentence. I know why I do it, but I'm going to ask you, since you're the author.
It's very important that we learn how to release the darkness and fill it with light energy. But in turn, in doing all of these different things like meditation and yoga, it's also to stay grounded, but it connects the mind, body, and spirit at such a more concrete, higher level that we're able to really get to that point where you're not able to tap into that level of consciousness without those practices.
Right. And so, since this is the UFO Woman show, let's relate that a little bit to extraterrestrials, because I know through my own research and my own experiences that many of the higher extraterrestrial beings are operating at a much higher frequency than we are. Therefore, they are able to walk through walls, for example, because they vibrate at a higher level, and therefore their intellect is much higher. Their viewpoints way different than what, say, ours as humans would be. So in order for us to ascend to a higher level, we have to do what, Natalie?
Raise our vibration.
Exactly.
We've got
Yes.
to become beings of unconditional love.
Yes.
And that is exactly what this book is. And I will tell you that the fruits of the labor that I have done with some of these clients is nothing less than a miracle.
Great.
It's life-changing. It's truly transformational. And I am very humbled and grateful to be able to help in this capacity.
You just gave me chills.
Yeah.
Literally, I just got goosebumps as you're saying that. And of course, I'm listening to you through my earpiece. And oh my gosh, I just feel like we had a moment there, because that's really...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sweet, and that's very touching. And if you've not experienced, if you're out there and you're watching this show right now and you've not experienced something like this, it is life-changing. And Natalie is one of the facilitators that I highly recommend. If you're dealing with something that is of a negative force, paranormal or otherwise, get her book, because it is such a breath of fresh air. It's educational, but it's also healing. I mean, when I know all this stuff because I'm in the field as well, but after I read Natalie's book, it really hit home for me, because it was just another confirmation that this path that I'm on is the right path. And kudos to you, Natalie, for writing this down on paper. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. I'm an author as well. And when you have all these thoughts in your mind, and I'm sure you would agree with me, it's one thing for us to have it in our mind, right, Natalie? But it's another thing to write it down in a book. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, and continuing and delving in with that consciousness and these dark influences, it all is so interconnected. So, in this process and, helping them to rid whatever negative influence is around, then the process to heal from within can begin.
Right.
And that's truly where you see the change and the transformation. That's where the being of unconditional love and the spiritual awakening start to come into play. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we are in process of reverse, and that the earth is in a state of cleansing, and that we will start to see a shift of a mass awakening on a global scale. And that's exactly what this book is intended to help people do. Because people will say, well, okay, so what is awakening? How do I do this? Well, these are all of the tools to become what I call a point of light. And when you become a point of light, then you do vibrate at that higher frequency.
Right.
And imagine when you're connected to the heart center, where the spiritual mind resides, how much energy you put out of unconditional love. But imagine on a mass scale, if we're all able to do that and raise our vibration, then you start to talk about this mass consciousness that you're referring to, that these ETI, interdimensional beings who are capable of interstellar travel, have accomplished on that higher level, on a mass civilization scale.
Right. And I've had people,
it is interconnected.
It really is interconnected. And, when we get our chakras lined up and our energy field is at its optimal level, and we are becoming more and more connected with the universe's consciousness. And we've talked a lot about this on the UFO Woman show. I mean, I've had Kevin Briggs on here. I've had, numerous other people that have talked about this exact subject matter. And it's so interrelated with UFOs, extraterrestrials, the universe. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, it's just way bigger than actually most people probably realize, because we are in the middle of an awakening. I agree with you. I think 2020, and I've been saying this now for months, I think 2020, the perfect vision year, if you will, it's not by accident. I think there's going to be some things that happen this year. The disclosure process is already happening softly. It's maybe not as fast as you and I might want, but it is happening. I mean, it's It's slow, it's not where I'd like it to be, but it's happening.
Sure.
And people like you and I and others that are in our circle, we're really actively, intentionally getting out there and trying to raise the bar of awareness with the public. And we're
Right.
doing it through books. We're doing it through shows. We're doing it through events like UFOCon. I mean, we are really getting out there, aren't we? And
We are.
we're putting ourselves on the line because, there's going to be those naysayers. There's going to be those skeptics. They're like, oh, I don't believe that. Okay, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But we all know as this community that it's coming. I mean, it's definitely coming.
Right. And and it's also now an actual science, the science of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Stephen Greer goes into it quite a bit. He's delved into it with a lot of different scientists, one being Dr. John from, over at Princeton, who is not around anymore, but there's many other scientists who are understanding that there's a direct correlation. There is a science to this, that it exists on a scientific level. For those skeptics and well, if science can't explain it, then it's not real. Then we can definitely let's go down that road so that everybody can be at the same point, no matter what your belief system or no matter what way you come at it or perceive it. That's your birthright to do so and your free will. And there's a way that we can all get there, and that's what makes it so great. And in this awareness, that's exactly what consciousness is. It's that ability to be aware of the aware. It's not our thoughts or our ego or our personality, this consciousness that we're all connected by, this universal consciousness. It is the thoughts whereby we perceive those thoughts. It is the feelings whereby we perceive those emotions. So when you're able to get to that undifferentiated state of awareness where you peel all that away and all that's left is just your state of being and, in the moment and truly being mindful and full of unconditional love, then that's when you truly are at that highest vibration. And then you are able to differentiate, go into those those differentiated levels of consciousness. But for those who have never heard of consciousness before, basically what consciousness is it's a non-linear, the nature of it is very non-linear, and it's unbounded, meaning it is not limited by space or time.
Right.
The only limitations would be our personal limitations, such as lack of knowledge or lack of faith. Mm-hmm. or those sorts of things. So, and that's what scientists are starting to tap into and realize, and they're starting to see that if we're able to bend space and time and be in control of gravity in this state of consciousness, where if we did it at a mass level, we would have so much energy, we would be able to interdimensional travel by creating these portals, by creating these wormholes, by creating these gateways. Mm-hmm. Think about it like this. Why are there $1 million projects with NASA that we test and we test and we test and, hey, they're good to go. Yeah. This is going to go down and we've got this. And then it actually goes out of test mode and it launches and something happens. Well, how did that happen? That wasn't supposed to happen.
Oops.
We do have those interdimensional beings as well that are there looking after us. And it's not that they think that they're better than us. It's protection. Yes. We've got to get to a place on a mass scale, on a mass level, if we're speaking about ufology and this consciousness and those that believe in these interdimensional beings, where once we get to that place, then there will be that ability to be interdimensional beings. So awaken the higher self, bringing darkness to light, is exactly what it says. But the basis of writing it was to help people get through depression, anxiety, all of those
positive
things.
Side, right?
Mm-hmm. And start to become the point of light that lives within them. We all have our real inner self. We have our ego, and then we have, which is the false self, and is the natural enemy to the spirit.
Yes,
but we are in a fallen state of being in a body. And then we have our real inner self, which is only a portion of our higher self, which exists in many dimensions.
Right.
You know, and of course, the physical body only exists in this dimension.
In this dimension, and it's just a vehicle. I mean, our consciousness goes on. Our consciousness goes on. Our energy goes on. It never dies. Even when our physical body dies, it still goes on past our physicalness, right? I mean,
exactly.
Which is, to me, that's very comforting, actually, because
it is. It's beautiful, right?
It is. It really is, because this is just a temporary thing. You know, we're just here, and it's not going to last forever, and that's fine. But our consciousness, our energy will go on forever, and that's the really cool part about all of this. So really kind of what we're talking about here is quantum physics or quantum entanglement. We're talking about, you know, things that we do can also affect the time-space continuum. And it's very, very interesting. And if you haven't researched that, if you're watching the show and you don't know what quantum physics or quantum entanglement is, a lot of information out there on both of those subjects. But it's basically, like Natalie said, it's just getting that time and space to kind of be in alignment, you know, with our conscious being. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. Wouldn't you agree? Because I feel like mine has changed. My lifestyle's changed since I've kind of been awakened to this reality. And I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago.
Right, exactly. I 100% have had the same experience that you have had. I am not the same person that I was before at the awakening, and no one would be, because you're going through a process of enlightenment, and you're truly working on becoming connected to your real inner self at all times, where you're not being operating out of that physical ego, worldly view, what's in it for me. You realize that we are connected as one. We're not separate.
Right.
And therefore we're able to be of service to others and live in a state of charity instead of what am I going to do for myself today and all of that.
Right.
So,
and that's hard, isn't it, Natalie? Because in our society, we are so kind of programmed into being self-centered. I mean, social media, my gosh, that's like the self-centering megacon of all converse. Yeah, I know.
I'm like, ooh, what's that?
the mega, like the whole kind of mega, you know, reality, if you will, of self-consciousness. And it's weird because, you know, we do live in a mindset of being self-centered and egotistical, but once you start this awakening process and you kind of start to get out of that and you start to look at everything not as a very small percentage or a small viewpoint of the world, but you start to look at, well, what's good for Earth? Or better yet, what's good for the universe? Because once you start to get out of that daily grind and that daily stress that honestly we're all kind of put under, stuff that used to upset me, I don't really even care about anymore, because I'm like, you know what? It's not for the betterment of our planet. It's not for the betterment of the universe. What we do here affects everything in the universe because we're all interconnected. We're kind of like an internet, really, if you want to relate it to that, where we are all connected to all beings across the universe. And so when we have a negative behavior, a negative thought, a negative process, it actually has a yin and yang effect, because it does affect other beings and other life forms and things like that in the universe, doesn't it? So
yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it makes you start to think about things differently. It really does.
It does. It does. You learn to truly, in an awakened state, you learn to liken the thoughts of the physical mind to the thoughts of the mind of the spirit, because your heart is directly connected to your physical mind in that state of being. And so you are in that different headspace.
Yeah.
And, you know, throughout the process to write this book, a lot of the knowledge did come from a higher place. It was almost as if it was downloaded.
It was downloaded
into my mind
yes.
while I was writing it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
of course, and I would just be so grateful, and I could see the bigger picture, and I could see why it would help so many, and that this knowledge is truly is to be used as wisdom, which is knowledge to be used for, the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a process to write the book. And, as we start to become a point of light and release that darkness, we can be aware that, we don't have to go through 30 years of therapy or, take medication to feel better. The answer is very simple, and it comes from within. It's about releasing any type of dark residue that fills the spirit, releasing that and filling the void with light energy. And I wrote the book very spiritually based, because it's meant to be universal. It is meant to resonate with everyone, no matter what your belief system is, no matter.
And you did a good job with that. Yeah, you did a really good job with that, by the way, Natalie. I thought it was a holistic approach to what we're talking about, the kind of the mega consciousness here, the universal consciousness. And I think you did a really good job of bringing it down to the level of anyone being able to relate to your experiences. It was an easy read. It was very informative. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job. It was very informative. But, I think the shift in our mindset needs to happen in order for us to elevate, to that next level. And I know you and I are doing our part to make that happen. I know others are as well. So that's cool. I mean, your book is very, very much complementary to another BMK author, which is Kevin Briggs. He's been on the show a few times. You guys get it. I mean, you guys understand the connection between consciousness, extraterrestrials, UFOs. All of this goes together. The paranormal, it's all interconnected. And we can't talk about one without talking about the other, because it's this circle here. And
it is a big circle.
Yeah,
it's
it really is.
It's a process of enlightenment so that we can elevate ourselves and ascend ourselves, but we've got to do it all together.
Yes.
And so this is about the battle of good and evil. Which side are you on?
Right.
We're all, by universal law, we are all in charge of our own salvation, right? We're in charge of ourselves. So I can't do it for you. You can't do it for me, though we can be of service to each other and just love one another.
Right.
Support the greatest thing, and the greatest thing that I do teach those who I come into contact with or my clients is it's not about what have you done, but how much have you loved?
Oh, I love that. That beautiful.
Really matters.
Yes, that's beautiful. I love that. That should be your tagline. That should be like on your website or something. That's a really good tagline. So,
okay, I'll go update it.
Yeah, exactly. Get on there right now. Speaking of lines. Okay, yeah, exactly. Speaking of lines, I want to get some reaction to my famous game called Melisa's Spaced Out Shouts. Perhaps you've seen it, Natalie. But Melisa's Spaced Out Shouts, I ask you a question, and you give me the first line that comes to mind.
Oh, jeez, this is going to be so bad on so many levels. I have got, like, the most quirkiest personality.
That's perfect.
And I am spontaneous, so bear with me here.
That's okay.
This could be pretty nail-biting.
That's okay. Whatever
goofy.
word or whatever line comes to mind when I ask you the question, that's good. All right, First question. If you were stranded on the moon, would you rather be with an alien or with Kim Kardashian?
Oh, totally an alien version of Kim Kardashian. Because let's face it, I mean, it's all about being with these aliens, right? But why not hang out with one that looks like Kim Kardashian?
Exactly. That's a good answer, by the way. I love that. All right. So if you were a planet, which planet would you be?
Venus, because I would want to live inside the Earth with Valiant Thor.
Oh, love that. I thought you were going to go with the whole female thing, but that's cool. That's really awesome. I love that. All right. If you had to pick your favorite paranormal show or movie, which one would it be and why?
Okay, so am I supposed to answer this seriously or
however you want to?
Okay, well, I'll give a little shout out here. I do respect Help My House is Haunted quite a bit. Because, you know, it really is a show about helping others. But in helping others, it's really about what I do as well. It's in line with what I do, which is helping other spirits who are stuck, who need help continuing through where they're supposed to go in their process of eternal progression, just like we've been talking about. But it's also helping the dark energy as well. And therefore, you're bringing relief to those of us who are experiencing that activity. So I would go with Help My House is Haunted for that reason.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. What are you most fearful about aliens?
Most fearful about aliens? Well, I would say this, that there are beings, aliens, that are benevolent and those that are malevolent. The ones that are malevolent, they're still interdimensional, and therefore they have mastered the ability to ascend and vibrate at a certain frequency. And so therefore they are also by nature deceitful and manipulative, and could present themselves as a benevolent being to others. So I guess that would be not necessarily a fear, but a red flag that I would impede or impend on others to think about in the field, or those that do believe in that aliens do exist.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Well, would you rather star in the show Stranger Things, or would you rather star in the movie Star Wars, and why?
So I would definitely go with Star Wars. And I believe that this brings me back to childhood. Hours and hours on end, my mom would sit there and watch all the trilogy. And I believe that was when it was there was only a certain, there was only 8 of them, or now, how many are there now?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. There's like spin-offs. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot,
I think
right?
I was so traumatized as a child that now I still need to catch up and go watch the rest of them. But
yes.
But yeah, I mean, you know, your classic Star Wars. Now we've got all these baby Yodas and all that floating the internet.
So cute, right? I mean,
No,
personally, I just want to be Rey. I think Rey is awesome. She's such a strong female character. If you haven't seen the newest Star Wars movie, it's awesome. So you definitely want to go see it. But Rey is cool. I love that they brought in a really strong female character. Yeah, they had Princess Leia, and she was cool too. But I don't know. I just really like Rey. I think she's cool.
I really feel like the Chewbacca call is very similar to what a Bigfoot call would sound like as well, which I have perfected this over the years.
You have? Can we hear
Not
it?
doing it? No.
Oh, man. Come on, Natalie.
It's not even going to come out right, because when you're put on the spot, then doesn't it just sound like a goat?
Well, we don't want you to sound like a goat.
Even though that's my nickname, my family does call me that.
Do they? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's
well,
so
I
funny.
mean, it's evolved over the years. We've got Natalie, and then it went to Nan, and then Nanny, and then Nanny Goat, and then just Goat. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. Now everyone knows way too much about me.
Oh my gosh, I know, I love that. So, what, have you gone Bigfoot hunting? Now I have to ask that question. Have you gone Bigfoot hunting? Have you seen anything?
I've done some impromptu Bigfoot hunting when I've been out visiting family in southern Utah throughout the years. So it wasn't anything really serious. It was more of I went out and I did my tree knock and did my call and had everyone laughing at me, even though I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So,
well, you know, there's a connection between UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings. So I have to ask, did you see either one?
So I have seen UFOs, but I have never personally seen Bigfoot, though I have a family member who did have somewhat of an experience. I don't believe that he did not see the Bigfoot, but he heard the Bigfoot, and it was very, it was like freak you out to your core type of experience.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
like he heard the sound that, or
it was like a scream.
a scream?
It
Yeah,
was
okay.
just like a chilling scream, like nothing you've ever heard before.
Wow. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
so.
That's cool. Now, you said you've seen UFOs. Tell us about like your favorite one that you've encountered, or
So Yeah, well, I mean, I'm all into the conspiracies and all of that, but when I was younger, I was with a couple of my family members, and we all saw the same thing up in the sky, and it was like they would like go like this.
Oh,
You know, they
wow.
would appear, reappear, 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 and there was multiple. But you know, in the course of my study and research, you know, and all of the different sightings and things that we know about in the course of our research that we're kind of delving into, it is very interesting to note that what's similar with like if a paranormal investigation at a haunted location where I'm, you know, looking for spirits or, you know, dark energy or that sort of thing, that you're able to capture on a different spectrum per se with a camera, these different phenomena or occurrences. So there was recently an English photographer, and this was actually on the Earth Files with Linda Moulton Howe, and he had taken a photo that was that he had captured as a photographer, just taking random still shots. And in the photo, you see these lights, and they, you know, they definitely make a shape, but with the naked eye, they went completely unseen and undetected. So that's definitely an interesting similarity. And then we've got, you know, reports of people who say that, you know, they've seen objects come out of the side of a mountain and that sort of thing. I mean, Dr. Stephen Greer in his excursions out to Mount Shasta has witnessed those, reported those things as well. So, and I actually did at one point work with a man who told me that at one point in his life, he did work for the government, and he had a certain clearance level. And this was down in New Mexico, Utah, that area. And he told me that he did witness an object fly out of the side of a mountain. That was the first time that I had ever heard of something like that. And so, you know, throughout the course of my research, we're starting to see more and more and more. And as linear time proceeds, it's becoming what the government is trying to control the narrative or keep information because they believe that we're not ready for it. Whatever the case may be, more and more people are wanting to know the truth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of mountains, you know, I was born and raised in West Virginia, and there's so many UFO sightings in West Virginia coming in and out of mountains. So yeah, that's definitely a thing,
Right.
For sure. For sure. And it makes you wonder, I mean, are there bases inside of the mountains?
Right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And, you know, there's those ancient underground cities that we've come across that are built underground at 30 levels.
Yes.
That we did not have the capability or the technology to be able to, at least that they say, or that we're aware of, that this would have had to come from some sort of very highly intelligent interdimensional being, possibly, is one of the theories on it. Mm-hmm. But you've got, you know, and the way that they are constructed is just absolutely phenomenal. And then there's these vent shafts that are very small, almost as if to go undetected from an aerial view, like something mm-hmm. flying over. I mean, we're talking about something that was built, you know, ancient Egypt, thousands and thousands of...
Have you been to Egypt? Because that's like one of my bucket list places.
We're going.
Oh my gosh, I would so want to go there.
Who wants to go? Yeah, no,
me
I too. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. And, you know, there's so much that we don't know. I mean, we don't know if there are tunnels built all throughout this country that are, you know, masking technology from UFO crashes. Are there possible aliens that are under these, you know, mountains and tunnels and things like that? I mean, I've heard so many stories, so many theories. You have to wonder what is going on and what do we not know?
There's so much in and under the earth, and now there is the Mount Beardmore in Antarctica, and the Antarctic mountain line,
right,
glacier, where there is 2 miles under reports of a place where there's hallways with like 12 different doors, and each of these doors are about 80 feet tall. tall, and they lead into a room, and they all have a star map engraved on them. And that is coming out it's come out on that documentary. If y'all haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's very interesting. It really makes you start to think and wonder, but it's called, Antarctica, the Secrets Under the Ice.
Right.
And that was, by Linda Moulton House. So we've all got to start, at least if you don't quite believe yet, or you do, or you have an interest, we've got to not only start raising our vibration and awakening to this unified collective consciousness and activating that as a mass, so that we can all do, and it's inevitable, it's happening.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And a part of what had been undisclosed or been trying to be kept a secret are when we had discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, and mysteriously there's missing pieces, or they've been cut and certain parts have been cut out, and there's all these different conspiracies, one being from Dr. Frank Stranges, who at the Pentagon, this is another documentary people can check out, which is Stranger at the Pentagon. He had gone, and there was a man at the Pentagon named Valiant Thor, and he claimed to be here to, help us and to do what we're trying to do now. And of course, along the course of time, there's all these conspiracies of cover-ups, Men in Black, and we all know that. So it's one of those that went in line with that was, and that's the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that they're in the 11th hour, the last days, there would be a mass awakening. So a lot of people believe a lot of different things. There's a lot of different theories out there. There's a lot of different conspiracies, and the knowledge is there, but we've got to start coming together and piecing it together so that we can find out the truth. And I believe that that's the only way to do that, is to ascend together,
right?
If you want to call it ascend.
Well, no, it is. I agree. Yeah. Well, we have just the last few minutes here of the show, and I want to just ask you, because you're in Texas and there's a lot of UFO stuff happens in Texas. What have you heard lately of maybe a sighting there, or what's been going on? Because I think I've seen a couple of reports come up in the last year or so that there has been some sightings in Texas.
Right. So one that comes at the top of my head is Stephenville, which is about 80 to 90 miles southwest of my location here in Dallas. And of course, over the course of the years, there's been many different things going on out there in the sky. At one point, there were different symbols that were being flashed up into the sky at a very rapid rate, which has been theorized that it would be as if we were going to go see a movie in the movie theater, where these highly intelligent interdimensional beings, they look at these symbols and they get the exact same story in seconds within the flashes of these symbols. So isn't that pretty? Wouldn't that be pretty incredible?
It would be.
So so there's that and then recently over there in Stephenville, of course, there's a nuclear plant there, and I was watching that when you were talking to Nick Pope about that a few weeks ago, and how all of that is connected.
Oh, it absolutely is. And, to be honest, I really think the extraterrestrials are scared that we're going to do something really dumb with this nuclear energy and this nuclear knowledge that we have. We're like little kids running around with matches. It just takes one mistake and, it could be massive destruction. And right. I don't know. I mean, there's been so many cases where we've heard that they've been shut down by the UFOs, that they've shut them off, which is, pretty remarkable in and of itself, because I know it takes several steps for a nuclear facility to be shut down like that. So that's very interesting. I think, we've got to be very, very cautious about our intentions with this technology, because we may not know exactly the outcome if something were to go wrong. We can sit here and speculate and say, well, this might happen if this, detonates or whatever. But the ramifications for generations that could happen because of a mistake like that, that's scary. And I think that we do have these, guardian type extraterrestrials that are here to protect us from extinction. I don't know. That's just my theory.
Absolutely.
But,
well, I agree with you. You've got all that activity and sightings over Stephenville. They didn't just say, oh, let's go pick Stephenville.
We're just going to randomly pick Stephenville.
Yeah. Let's think about it here. There's a nuclear testing site out there. So there you go. Yeah. And it is common sense, and there's not much more that has to be said about that. So it's actually very, very interesting. I went out there with with my director of photography a couple weeks ago, and we went out there because there was like a stargazing party. It was really neat. They
fun!
had these $1,000 telescopes, and I was able to see some really neat star formations, and then we went on our way and we went off, which you're not supposed to kind of wander off, I guess, but I'm pretty adventurous and I like to go off and do my own thing and make of it what I will. So we did, and he's very similar that way. So we about 2 miles later we end up at this, and this is a national forest as well.
Oh, so great.
We end up at this sign that says the Monarch Trail, and I have this whole thing with butterflies.
Yes,
it's
you
so
do.
Synchronistic that the book cover of Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light is a yellow butterfly,
which I had no idea, by the way. I mean, let's disclose that I had no idea that you had a thing for butterflies, and when I put it there, for some reason I just felt like you needed that on your cover, and then you told me your story, and I'm like,
I know.
So cool.
I know. And for those who don't know what synchronicities are, they're events that happen that have high strangeness to them, where there's no causal relationship between the two, but common sense would tell you, and you're like, oh, this is weird, but they're definitely connected. So that's the story behind the butterfly and the synchronicity with Melisa and I. And it was really neat. But
it is.
I'm on this trail at the Monarch sign with my director of photography, and we get about, I would say, 900 yards up. His phone was turned silent.
Oh.
And this was actually the night that was declared a global CE5 initiative by
February 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we got to a place, and we're at this point, I'm kind of looking around. I'm like, I'm not scared, but we really are in a place where we don't know, and this is very interesting. And then all of a sudden, his phone says, arrived.
No.
The GPS on his phone arrived. And we both looked at each other, and
I just had goosebumps.
I said, what was that? And he goes, my phone's on silent. I said, do you have your GPS on? And no. I said, oh my gosh. I said, well, we continued on the path, but looking back, I thought to myself, we should have stayed in that spot and got some C5, going. And for those that don't know what the C5 initiative is, it's the C5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and the Central for Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, founded by Dr. Stephen Greer in 1990, along with the Disclosure Project, has the C5 initiative, which is just, the
awesome.
Human initiation of peaceful contact with extraterrestrial beings. So it really is, that has really pioneered the field. I give my hats off to Dr. Stephen Greer.
Same
he
here.
really has.
Same here.
So,
I love him. He's awesome. He's such a great pioneer in our industry. It's fantastic. But I just love that story, and I still have goosebumps.
Arrived.
That is great. That is so great. Oh my gosh. Well, for those that want to find out more information about Natalie, you can go to the BMK Publishing website, which is bmkpublishingusa.com. You can find out about her book, her bio, as well as some of our other authors and what they're doing with consciousness, which is really cool, and extraterrestrial connections. You also can go to Natalie's website. And Natalie, what's your website again?
NatalieAnnJones.com. awakenthehigherself.com.
Okay, super. And you're on all different types of social media. You're on Instagram. What's your account on Instagram?
Exactly. So I do actually as well have all of my social media links to all of my social media on both of those websites as well.
Okay, cool. So
Yes.
lots of places to get information about your book and what you're doing. And, you know, we're going to be running out of time here real quick. And unfortunately, we didn't get to talk a whole lot about some of your paranormal investigations, but I really want to get you back on the show here in the next, you know, few episodes and talk about your paranormal investigations, because I know for a fact, because I follow you on Instagram and everywhere else, and we're friends. I know you have a lot of really cool investigations that you've done there in Texas, and definitely want to bring our audience up to speed as to some of those really cool investigations. But in closing here, let's tell everybody that you're going to come to UFO Con, right?
I am headed to the UFO Con. And I am really looking forward to that experience. I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you, meeting Grant, meeting Nick Pope, meeting Dave Spinks, and the list goes on. And of course, meeting the wonderful Melisa Kennedy, the UFO woman herself.
Oh, well,
I could only be so lucky. And I will be there doing book signings for Awaken the Higher Self, Bringing Darkness to Light, and the book just went on pre-order as well.
Yes, and our launch date is officially March
3rd.
Yes, March 3rd. We had to get the 3. Yes, we did. We had to get the 3 in there, didn't we? Well, thank you so much. I mean, I've really enjoyed our time here, Natalie. It's been fantastic. And like I said, I'm going to get you back on my show here soon. But thank you for joining us. It's been fantastic. You guys got to go out and get her book. It's going to be available online. And she's also going to be doing book signings at UFO Con. So definitely we'll see you soon. We'll get you back here on UFO Con. But until next time, I'm your host, Melisa Kennedy. Thank you for watching The UFO Woman. Keep looking up.